Okay, so it's just me in this video today, but I wanted to make this off the back of the video that I did yesterday with Harry. So me and Harry, he's my friend from Facebook. He's had a ton of success already with his first ever book that he's published on Amazon. And we had a 35-minute interview about how he's managed to achieve that. He was making some really good sales with his first ever activity book, and we took a look at that. But the video is very long. It's 35 minutes. I know hardly anyone really watched all of that, I doubt. So what I wanted to do for this video was to kind of summarize what makes a great activity book sell on Amazon, what Harry's been doing, what I've been doing, to kind of make it into a shorter video. And also, we got a lot of questions in the comment section and on Facebook. There's quite a few questions geared toward Harry. I would love for him to come back on and answer them himself, but the man's busy. He's got his activity books to make, so but he's been nice enough to actually answer the questions anyway. He wrote them out to me on Facebook, so I'm going to be answering them. And also the other thing that I noticed was a lot of my favorite YouTubers have commented on this video as well, so I'm going to be giving some shout outs to these people. So just to summarize, we're going to be going over the steps to making a great activity book sell well, and we're going to be talking about the Q&A for Harry's book from the interview that we did here, and also going to be giving the shout out. So I'm going to start with the shout outs because I love these channels. I'm so excited that the specific people that have commented on this video, because I've been meaning to shout these guys out. But the first, we have Publisher Report, which is Garry. So if you want to follow a channel that is truly real and transparent, then I think Gary's your go-to. Super nice guy as well. Next up, we have Natalie from Rags to Niches. So a pretty new channel. One of my favorite for low content book publishing. But I think if you follow my channel, you know that I don't pursue low content books, but Natalie does very well with her low content books. She does better than I do with my higher content books, so she's doing something right. Yeah, if you're into your low content book scene, then you should check her out. Next up, we have Sleepypilgrim, and this is a new channel that I really enjoy. I got quite a lot of hours out of watching this guy's channel just because he's so angry all the time, and I love angry people who speak the truth. And he speaks the truth about publishing and scams online and things like that. And I think the more channels that like this exist, the better. And to be honest, I would love to take my channel in this sort of direction as well, about calling out scammers and guiding people in a better direction and not misleading people and wasting people's life and money, because there's a lot of it out there, and it's sick. It really is. But yeah, as he says here, KDP is finally heading in the right direction, and I think, mate, between channels like mine and yours, hopefully we can encourage people to clean up the marketplace with better books. And like he says, he's an angrier version of me with a bigger beard, and that's pretty accurate. But yeah, go get him to 2,000 subscribers. Go check him out. He's going to be super happy with that. And last but not least, we have my friend Abdollah Sbiti. So I've been in contact with Abdollah for a long time now, maybe over a year, I think it is. And actually, I wish Abdullah's channel got more traffic, because I find he doesn't realize it, but I find him quite inspirational, because he's from Morocco and he started his publishing business with hardly no money whatsoever, and he's grinded like crazy. He went that route of spammy low content books. I think he'll be very open about that on his channel. But he's got to the point now, and just talking about the previous channel for Sleepypilgrim, he's got to a point now where he realizes that the money isn't in spammy low content books. The money comes from producing good books, something that your customer is really proud of. And I think he's come from that sort of spammy low content scene that everyone pushes to producing really good books. And he actually showed me one of his books today, which is ranked like, what was it, mate? Was it 35,000? If you're watching this, 35,000 in the US store, which is crazy. You've done that on a crazy low budget as well. So yeah, honestly, I hope that you document that. You should be very proud, dude. Honestly, we'll do a success story maybe if you're up for that. That would be fantastic. But yeah, that's the YouTube channels. I think they're all great. Go check them out. I'll link them all in the description, so you can go enjoy hours and hours of content that isn't me, because you're probably bored of me by now. Okay, so that's the shout outs out the way. Now let's move on to the main part of the video here, which is to summarize what actually makes an activity book sell. So what I want to do in this part of the video is to kind of combine my own personal beliefs and experience when it comes to selling activity books and coloring books, combine that along with what Harry was doing with his book, the one that had all the success, and then to also try and merge the questions that were left in the comment section for that into this section as well, just so the video doesn't get too long. Okay, so I think when it comes to selling activity books or puzzle books or coloring books or any books on Amazon, one of the main things that you need to think about here is your creativity. Okay, so that leads me to the first question that we had on that video, and this is by Grumpy Old Man. Actually, I recognize your name. I think maybe you emailed me, but Grumpy Old Man says he has a history in graphics design, and that's true. We're referring to Harry here. What can those of us do that are graphically and artistically challenged? So I think that's a really good question, because I'm the same. I've got no design skill whatsoever, and for me the obvious solution is to outsource things, and that's what I do. I go to Upwork or Fiverr, mainly Upwork when it comes to graphic design. For my coloring books, I pretty much lived off of hiring people from Upwork. So that's one thing that you can do. But if you actually take a look inside Harry's book here, let's just go up and look at his design. So you don't have to be as graphically and artistically talented as you think to do these type of books, because Harry's using the instant maze generator software here, but what he's done, he's taken the mazes and then just added some arrows, added some funky text into it, and just tried to put a little bit of his own spin on it. Now, you can't tell me that you have to be a designer to put some arrows onto a page like this. Okay, any of us can do that. We just need to think a little bit outside the box as to what can make our pages look that little bit more creative and fun for our customer. Okay, so one of the other questions that got asked inside that, again, this comes down to creativity, is what was the software that Harry was using for the mandala here. So I'm going to leave that because I can't just say the link out loud. I'm going to leave the name of the software in the description. Okay, I've never used, to clarify, I've never used the software that Harry's used to create this mandala, so I can't comment on it. You need to go and check that out for yourself and see whether that's worth your time. But I think he said in this video he took that mandala and made the lines thicker on it as well. Okay, so again, it comes down to a little bit of creativity in order to stand out. Okay, so also just touching upon creativity here when you don't have much design skills, and you don't, maybe a lot of people don't have luck when it comes to outsourcing things, graphics, for example, from Upwork. I've had a nightmare trying to find people on Upwork to do good jobs for me. It's taken maybe 6 months just to find a few good designers. So what I'm going to recommend it, and this is what Harry's using at the end of his the video that we did, is the hand-drawn maze software. So there's a reason so many people are talking about this, minus the affiliate commissions that get made with this. There is a reason people talk about this, and it is because it is very, very, very good. And it is the perfect app for those of us that want to create good looking interiors but don't actually have the design skills to create something like this. So if you're one of those people like me that doesn't have an artistic bone in their body, and you've had a lot of bad experiences when it comes to outsourcing people for graphic design, for example, then I think this is the perfect app. And like I said, there's a reason that people are talking about it. People are absolutely loving it, and I'm enjoying it myself. And there's a reason that Harry's bought this software. He bought it on the day that it came out, and he's loving it as well. And like I say, there's a reason people want this, and that's because you can be creative and you can make unique looking pages pretty quickly with this software. Now, just to touch on this, like, if you want this is the last day that you can get it for the prices that it's at. And I promise you on my life that the software price will go back up, and it will never, ever, 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 ever return. Okay, so I'm not trying to scare you into buying it, but if you're interested in this software, like, today is the day you have to get it. You're going to be extremely happy with it if you do. I promise you. Okay. And if you're not convinced, you can go and check my review out in the description. You can check out the pricing structure that I talk about, my bonuses that I give away with it. And if you want to just go ahead and buy it, then you can do that as well. It's all going to be in the description. Okay, so regarding creativity and regarding the question about not being able to design a lot of things yourself. So like I say, Harry does use a few different tools for the interiors for his book, and he's actually been kind enough to write these out in a PDF document for me. So for those of you wondering what the rest of them were, we had Crossword Compiler was one of them, and we had the Trivia software, which was by Kenn Bluttman, I think it was here, which was Trivia Book Mastery, and then we had the Hashi Bridges as well. And just to touch upon creativity, if I just show you this, for example, now I don't know this software. I think this is the one by Kenn Bluttman. I'm not quite sure. I don't use it, but to touch upon creativity, if you're using these apps, or like the maze generators or trivia generators or anything whatsoever like this, what we can see that Harry's done is that he puts his own spin on everything. He doesn't just use the software as is and then try and produce books. He'll add something extra to it. And I think, when it comes to producing pages like this, pages that look a little bit different, a little bit better than what the customer typically expects to see, that you can include this in your A+ content. Really show it off, show why your book is so much better than everyone else's. And I promise you, this will make a huge difference when it comes to selling things like activity books. Okay, so that moves me on to the next step here for making a great activity book sell well, and that is to differentiate. So in the interview with Harry, we spoke about the things that he did in order to make his book stand out. So for me, differentiating is important. You got to find a way to, not just, you got to find a way that doesn't just go in line with what everyone else is doing. You got to find something additional to put into your book. So for example, Harry here, he saw the opportunity to quite easily create more pages for his activity book. So I think 290, I think it was in the end that he went for, so quite a lot. Obviously that took a little bit of time to do, but the rewards have been worth it for a book that's going to stick in the marketplace for a long time. So like differentiating your book, adding value to your book is a huge part of being able to stand out in these niches that do have a lot of competition. And so just to give another example, in the case study, the book that I'm showing off, the one that I'm doing, which is the football activity book. So the way that I'm trying to differentiate or add value is to just have more variety in my book in terms of the activities inside, because I went through Amazon, checked out similar books and saw what people were complaining about, and a lot of people said that the books were boring. The interiors were boring, they didn't have much variety. So for me, I've taken that as a chance to differentiate my book and add value that way by being, I guess, more exciting. And the more exciting you can be within a book, then the more chance you have of making sales with it. Okay, so far we have being as creative as you can with your books, taking that time to add that little bit of your own touch into things and being as creative as possible. It's going to make a huge difference when it comes to the sales of your books. Then we have differentiating, adding value to your books. That could be in the form of more pages, more variety, or just by producing something people have never seen before on Amazon. Okay, so that moves me on to the next part of creating a great activity book, and that is to be in theme with your competition. So a lot of people confuse this for just copying what your competition is doing, and that couldn't be further from the truth. What we want is to take inspiration, take elements and aspects and ideas that are working well for other people, because you want to go where the money's going. Like, you have to do this in order to make sales. And like I say, that's not to say you just go ahead and copy what other people are doing. I'm going to give an example in a second, but it leads me on to one of the questions we have here from Tarisha. Where can I see Harry's book covers? So you can't, basically. He was very happy to show his book off, but I advised him heavily against doing that, just because this is something that he's worked on for a long time, and it would be completely unfair to show off that work and just have 500 people copy exactly what he's been doing. So unfortunately, we're not going to be showing off the book cover. But just to give you an example here of what I mean by getting in theme with what's going on, with what's selling on Amazon already, is when it comes to creating your book cover especially, and getting in theme with what other people are doing, you can come to Amazon. This is what I do, and actually me and Harry spoke about this in the interview. I did an interview with Romney from the Life Graduate, and he spoke about this exact same thing as well. And it's something that people don't really talk about that much, about taking inspiration from other people's book covers and seeing what design elements are working well for other people, and then acting upon that and then creating something around that. Again, that's not copying. So for example, a football activity book here, we would come through Amazon, take a look at the books that are selling well, take a look at what the colors that they're using, take a look at what some of the design elements they're using, take a look at the fonts that they're using, take a look at the layout of their pages as well. And also, regarding getting in theme, take a look at how they approach their audience with their descriptions and their A+ content. See how they project their books to the audience, and then go ahead and make your own version of that around it. And then on top of that, regarding book covers, it's something that you need to get your standard right with. You need to come to a conclusion as to what your customer expects to see in terms of quality from a book cover. So go through these type of book covers, and if you can't make this yourself in somewhere like Canva, if you don't have any design skills, then you need to outsource this, because like I keep saying, if you can't do it in Canva and you're creating something like this, your customer has a standard for the other books. Okay, they're going to choose this one over yours because the cover looks nicer. People do judge the book by its cover, and it is very important that you get that right. And in terms of what Harry did for his, he nailed that. He made a really good book cover, and I believe he probably did it himself given his design skills. Took elements from other people's books, implemented them into his own, put his own spin on it, and then created a book that sold really well. Okay, so the next component that we have for creating a great activity book is niche selection. So if you watch my channel, you know that I'm not wild about going absolutely crazy and obsessive over selecting the correct niche or the right niche that has X amount of criteria for it. So it is still important. It is still important to make sure you get that niche right, because for me, what I want to do, and all of my books that I've been doing the last 6 months, they've been kind of, I guess, fitting into this middle ground area where the books aren't so competitive that I've not got any chance whatsoever, but then again, they're not so niche down that it's not worth my time, if that makes sense. So I don't want to create an activity book that's going to cost me, 500 quid and then it not have an audience, but at the same time, I don't want to go into the super competitive markets again, spend a lot of money and then just get lost on Amazon because no one can find me, or because I don't have the ad spend to get onto the front page. So in terms of niche selection, like I said, I don't think it's the end of the world to not have the exact criteria that some people have been giving you, but at the same time I think it is important. So for me, trying to find somewhere in the middle, and for example the football activity book for kids 6 to 8 I think it was, or 9 to 12, whatever, that I do in my case study, I think this is the perfect example of this, because it's not a book that is, if we're talking too broad, we would say something like an activity book for kids or a toddler's coloring book. It's just too broad, and it's not so specific either. A football activity book for kids 9 to 12, for example, that's not so specific that it doesn't have an audience. But if it was something like a football activity book for girls that support West Ham, for example, then yeah, that's way too specific, and you would spend all that time and money creating something that nobody wants. Okay, so niche selection is important. There's probably a million billion videos on my channel about doing this, but yeah, that's the basics of niche selection. And that leads me on to a question that I got on Facebook, which was, are activity books saturated? And my answer to that is no. What I will say is, are bad books on Amazon saturated? Are bad activity books saturated? Then yes, let's go with that. Everything is saturated on Amazon because it's all bad. Huge opportunity to create good books and make great sales with it. I truly 1,000,000% believe that. So no activity books, no books are saturated other than notebooks and journals. Don't worry about that. Create a great book, make your customer love you, make them come back and give you 5 stars. Okay, so just to come back to the comments here and to cover a couple of them that I wasn't able to fit naturally into this video. So Abdollah, again, he says, what do you guys think is the future of KDP? So actually me and Harry did discuss that ourselves about, and we spoke about in that video about how he made low content books, like really super low content books like journals and things like that, and had 0 sales with them, obviously. So yeah, the future of KDP has been the same that it should always be, and that's to produce a high quality book that your customer wants, and to put some thought into it, give your customer value. And yeah, I think we're going toward that in the future, and I do believe that Amazon will start cleaning up the low content book scene. I hope that they start charging per listing. I hope that they do something about notebooks, maybe to give them their own category, for example. But yeah, I think that the future revolves around quality and maybe having a little bit of ad spend as well to get customers' eyes onto your book. Okay, so we had another question about the mandala generator. Yep, I'm going to leave a link in the description for that. So next question, Daniela asked, can you both do graphic design tips series together? I'd love to. I'd love to do it by myself, but I have no clue when it comes to graphic design, hence why I outsource things and use software. But I'd love to have Harry back on to give people some more tips specifically for design. But yeah, the section in this video about being in theme with your competition should give you an idea as to where to start. I'm looking through the comments here. I'm trying to find one that I saw earlier. I don't know if I'm just being blind, but someone asked how long Harry's book had been out for. So I think it was between 2 and 3 months since it was published, since today. So, I guess that maybe took a little bit of time to get some traction, but from there, it's going to be pretty consistent sales for him. And yet that's the thing, you got to be a little bit realistic. Everyone talks about this period where you get this huge boost on Amazon, the first 30 days. I know, to be honest, I've never really noticed that. I noticed that sales pick up over time, like as you start gaining traction, you get some reviews. But yeah, no, his book hasn't been out for very long at all. And again, I think I'm being blind here, but someone asked about ad spend, whether he spent ads right away. So no, he didn't. I think he released the book organically and it did pretty well on its own. And then he tried to run some ads to it. His ACoS went up to 37 or 38%. So with the price of his book, that was about break even. But I think given the cash flow that came with how running ads works, I think he decided to actually turn them off for the time being and then decide whether he needs to actually go back and run them again to get himself ranked on the first page, which he doesn't need to do. He's got ranked on the first page for his niche, so he doesn't really need to run the ads to get himself boosted, because he's already up the top basically. So he might come back to spending some money on ads if it falls off the front page. That was what he said to me. But from my perspective on running ads, you know, I've got what I think is a decent idea as to what good quality is. There's no point in just running ads to any books if they suck. You know, if you don't know what you're doing, if you can produce a good book and you're really confident with that book, then yeah, run ads to every book that you can right off the bat. Okay, so moving on to the last question here. I think I actually made this video way longer than I was hoping, but from Emily here, I'd love to see what you guys are doing with hand-drawn mazes. I know the promo ends really soon. I'm trying to decide if I want which design elements I want to. You got the rest and you love it. Excellent. Will you please show a few more mazes and applications of the software? So yeah, in terms of showing off more maze designs from the software, you know, I've got a lot of videos now on the hand-drawn maze stuff. I've got plenty of examples that people can check out from my review. If they go to the description, you can check out the review, the pricing, and pretty much all those videos. You're going to see some demonstration of the maze software, so you know, that's just go check them out if you're interested in seeing more designs if you're not convinced yet. In terms of what other uses you can have for the hand-drawn maze software, so actually I wrote out an email yesterday about some of the ways that you can you can implement this into your publishing business without being just the typical kind of just produce spammy maze books on Amazon, because that's never going to work for you. So I sent out this email, and you know, I don't know how many people read this, so I'm going to just repeat it out here basically. But you can of course create full-blown maze books with this, full-blown hand-drawn mazes. But the thing is here, this is not my approach. I wouldn't do this, but what you could do is to create these kind of full-blown maze books that are dedicated to having a story. So you could create a story throughout the entirety of the book, but use the mazes to portray that story. So that's one way that you could use it without just fitting into that category of generic maze books, which Amazon is flooded with. Okay, so that's one of the reasons that I don't take that approach. But what I will be doing for it is to create activity books around these. So this is going to be the big one for me in 2022, is activity books. If you follow my case study, if you're interested in the case study, you know that I'm doing the football activity book that I'm going to be actively selling on Amazon. You know, I'm not shoving generic mazes out there. I'm creating activity books for kids. It's a niche that I feel quite passionate about. I enjoy it, and obviously with the software I enjoy using that, so that comes out in the quality of my book. So the next big one here that I'm going to be considering pursuing is early education. Now you can implement these mazes into early education books. So I think actually Garry from Publisher Report did this in his review for hand-drawn mazes. He showed off how you can kind of create like a maze that has a cursive handwriting element to it as well. So you're kind of combining the fun side of things with the educational side of things, and that's absolutely massive. If you can create something for a child that gives educational value as well, that helps them improve a skill, a useful skill in life, like letter tracing, which is huge obviously, then that's even better. And that's a big one. This is something you can use the software with as well. Okay, so that's it for this video. Hopefully that gives you an insight into how people who are having success with activity books are operating. So the hand-drawn maze software ends on the evening of the 25th, so that's going to be your last chance to get it before the price goes up forever and ever. So go check it out, go check out my reviews, and do me a big favor, go to the other channels that I've mentioned in this video. Go and absolutely bombard them with likes and subs, and yeah, just go do that, because I love those channels and they deserve more subscribers. Anyway, that's it for this video. I'll see you in another one very soon.